how can you bridge the gap between a scientific finding and practical implementation of harm reduction initiative?
Oh, this was the best question I've had all these past 2 days. Well, that's the $1,000,000 question, basically. We have a lot of science, and over the years, science has been growing. But there is, over time, a bigger distance between what regulators are thinking or are implementing and what science is saying. And that's bad for public health, because public health is a combination of using science to make the right political decisions. Unfortunately, we're seeing that while in the past years we had uncertainty, but authorities were making in some cases the right decisions, like, for example, what the European Union did in 2014 with the Tobacco Products Directive. Now that we have even more evidence and more convincing evidence about the lower risk of all harm reduction products and even more products available, which is better for the smoker, we see that regulators are not in line with that scientific knowledge. They are far distancing themselves from that, and they are expressing more reservations now at a period where uncertainties are far less than before, compared to what they did 10 years ago. So I don't really, to be honest, understand why they're doing that. I don't know why they're still using the argument of we don't know what's going to happen in the next 10, 20, 30 years. Every time they're just prolonging the period of uncertainty. I can reassure them that uncertainty will exist forever, and the same uncertainty exists for all consumer and even pharmaceutical products when we talk about long-term effects. But the way of dealing with the uncertainty is by doing what we call post-marketing surveillance, not by applying restrictions and prohibiting products or making an over-restrictive regulatory environment that will, in fact, prevent us from having any data on long-term use.
What role does rigorous scientific evidence play in shaping policies and regulation related to harm reduction?
Well, under normal circumstances, all regulations and regulatory decisions should be based on science. It seems that there is a gap, as you also mentioned, between science and politics, and it seems that politics are the priority over science. And that is where we're having problems with public health. We've seen already cases and examples of countries outside the European Union who have been very restrictive in their approach to the level of prohibiting substances, products. The end result was a disaster. It was not a win-win situation, it was a lose-lose situation, because the government lost control through the creation of a black market, and the consumers, they lost their chances to quit, but they are also exposed to illegal black market illicit products of unknown quality, unknown origin, and unknown content. So it's a lose-lose situation.
And now, in your opinion, why do so many people used to smoke? What they think, how they feel?
Well, it exactly shows the difficulty of quitting. We have more than 60 years of knowledge and experience about the harms of smoking. The first reports that smoking causes heart disease, lung disease, and cancer came out in 1962 by the Royal College of Physicians in the UK, and in 1964 by the Surgeon General in the US. So 60 years of knowledge, and we are today in a period where more than 90% of smokers know that smoking causes harm. Smokers still smoke. Why? Because it's very hard to quit, and because they get some positive experience for smoking. And of course, ideally, all smokers should quit tomorrow without using any alternative, but it's not been happening for decades. 1.2 billion smokers today in the world, 8 million premature deaths every year due to smoking. More deaths from smoking every year than from COVID during the pandemic. And unfortunately, regulators seem to consider the current generation of smokers as a lost generation. So they say, basically, that's what they indirectly do with the regulations. They sacrifice these people in order to supposedly protect youth from nicotine use through harm reduction products, but they also fail in that respect, because the black market is targeting the most vulnerable populations, and that is youth. So in reality, they fail both in their intended purpose, but they also suffer from unintended harms for another group, that is adult smokers.